faculty meeting, but with everything that we've got going, I know Miss Lovell's agenda is swamped along with everybody's. So she asked me she told me I could do this during a PLT. I've got to do this for my class, so I thought, hey, it's a perfect opportunity to do it. Okay? You can go ahead and hit record on it. Hey.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Guys, what I'm handing you right now is just the agenda, the stuff I'm going to cover. First off, you know everybody. Miss Williams, Miss Welch, Mr. Woodward, Mrs. Baker, Worley, and Blankenship. I am Mr. Busler, of course. Just a couple things. I'll just run through this agenda with you real fast. I'm going to do just a quick breakdown of my grade cam and the results that I have seen. I forgot to bring the test with you, but that's not a big deal. I can explain a lot of that to you. The big thing I wanted to talk to you about was the calendar survey. I happen to be on that committee this year. Of course, Ms. Baker is our DPP, is kind of spearheading that committee and getting everything out. She sent the surveys out to you all this morning to get you to get your all's opinions. I'm going to go through that, explain some of it to you, and give you kind of the details that we went over in our first meeting with that. But the items of that are thoughts on our NTI, non-traditional instruction, having a set calendar, and the length of breaks. And then quickly, I'll go over MAP testing and CERT testing. All of you in here, with the exception of Miss Worley, are just high school, right?
I teach 1 8th grade.
You have one 8th grade class, okay. And then thoughts and concerns at the end. All right. The first thing I'm going to cover, guys, is my grade cam scores, my learner check there. What I did, since the majority of my students are at a similar, even though it is 6th, 7th, and 8th, the bulk of my students read between a high 6th grade level all the way down to a high 2nd, low 3rd grade level. I know that when you think of a 6th grade class, you're like, oh wow. Well, guys, that's why we have resource classes. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So what I did is I made one large reading test for all of them and had them read at the same level. And you'll see some of the breakdown of that. I'll go ahead and just tell you real quickly that my 6th graders actually scored better overall on this than my 7th graders did. Even though as most of you know, our 6th grade levels, guys, are extremely high as far as the number of kids we have on our caseload. We were so overwhelmed with those numbers this year that I no longer teach an 8th grade class, and I have 2 6th grade classes and a 7th grade class, and Miss Cornett takes care of the 8th graders. What's that?
I got an 8th grade class because of that.
Gotcha. For that issue.
That's why I teach 8th grade.
As you'll see, guys, and I'll break some of this down for you. I've got the reports here. I'm not a big fan of the graph there, but I am a fan of this. I think that's been consensus. Grade cam is the item analysis on this has been a huge benefit. I mean, you can look at it and it tells you what overall kids got right, what overall kids got wrong. As you see here, the kids did pretty well on the multiple choice, and as you would assume, I read all the answers and responses to them, and that does help them. Where you see the big breakdown was question 13 and question 14. That was my extended response and my quote-unquote short answer is what I call it for them. You tell those kids it's an extended response and they automatically freeze on you there. So the good thing is I only had, let me look at this. and I know I probably grade totally different than you guys do, but I only had 2 who did not get points on one of the questions, and that was because one student left it blank, and the other student, that came out of left field. I have no idea where she was writing that, what she was writing from. But the positive thing is, and one thing I consistently saw is just about all of my students got either a 1 or a 2 on that, which means they answered some part of the extended response correctly, which is a big thing. Guys, we have, yes, I have a set curriculum, and yes, Ms. Kavatikin gives me, and Ms. Agee gives me a lot of the things they are doing, but just about everything I do in my classroom is skill-based, is phonics-based, and when we do writing, we break it down in such a way that that's why I get kind of frustrated during the end of the year testing with my kids, is because, you know, even though some of these kids have double time, that means they're only going to get, you know, let's say they've got 60 minutes, they may get 2 hours. That involves the multiple choice and the extended response. Guys, there's some days it takes them 2 days or 2 class periods to give me the answer that I'm looking for, or to actually write down point by point when I say, okay, did you explain this part of the question? Did you address that part of the question? So I think
I think the writing though kind of is mirrored the literacy issues too, though.
oh, 100% it
Yeah,
does.
they totally mirror each other.
100% it
Yeah,
does.
yeah. But that's an issue on for.
Exactly. And that's something this year, guys, and I would like for you all, as regular ed, to continue to talk to your principals, to your curriculum coaches about this. Last year, I kind of headed this up with the help of Miss Cornett. We absolutely begged Miss Lovell to do more one-on-one testing with our students on state assessments. And not only, because if you look in IEPs, most of them already have that one-on-one time already written in, but they also had the small group setting. In years past, we were kind of lumping those kids into small group and testing them. We told Miss Lovell, said, look, we will do the bulk of the one-on-one testing. We tested, and during that 2-week window last year, we would start usually about 8:30, 8:45, and we wouldn't finish sometimes until the 3:10 bell rang. But we got them all finished. Now, was there some huge dramatic increase in scores? No, because we can't do it for them, but we did see improvement. When you get to deliver those things to those students on a one-on-one basis, you are going to see, you know, the one-on-one improvement with that. And I think you see that in these responses that I had given. When you read them one-on-one to these kids, and they actually have time to gather themselves, think about what you've read, and you deliver the test to them in the right ways, you're going to see positive things from those students. And that's always difficult and frustrating during test time when you're pulling those kids one-on-one. I think I had 4 kids periodically through the day. I know Ms. Cornett had about the same, Mr. Jenkins, it was a group effort. And plus, you also have to think, we're pulling in subs, some parents who really don't have an idea how to work one-on-one with these kids. And so
And that relationship can be everything.
oh yeah. So I think it's kind of hard to gauge some of these scores from those kids sometimes. Anybody, I know I kind of covered a lot of things real quickly, but do you have some questions or concerns about any of those? I'm sure you guys are already familiar with that since each of you have these special needs kids in your all's class.
It is not just special needs. It's actually regular ed, too.
Something across the board.
Oh yeah, literacy across the board. Literacy and writing across the board is an issue.
Math skills are low too.
Across the board. Like it's not like you would say. I mean, I would look at, you know, yeah, we have some, you know, some of our IEPs and 504s that that have literacy issues, but I have students that, you know, are sitting, you know, without 504s, without IEPs too, they're struggling with literacy, big time.
Right.
Which mirrors their writing. And so when it comes time for standards, you know, we've had this discussion where, you know, you have a junior standard that says I can take and defend a position in the War of 1812, when we have students that can't even analyze opposing viewpoints.
Well,
So
I think
it's
the
a
big
different-
thing I'm seeing with that,
difficult.
I agree with you. I think the thing that I see more so when it comes to that than anything is, and I don't know, I know this is not only a statewide issue, but a
It's
nationwide,
issue.
a nationwide issue
It
as
is.
well. I'll take the War of 1812, for example.
Yeah.
You can teach on it, and I don't know if it's something that we do, if it's something the way the kids are learning, if it's something that it may a combination of all of the above. Is simply the fact you can ask those students particular questions, and they'll give it to you just like that.
Yeah.
I think we all see it.
Yeah.
And then something when it's time to transfer that
Yep.
that working knowledge from there to there,
Yep.
there's a disconnect,
Yep.
and I know we've all seen it. We
Yep.
all see it.
Yep.
But
it's not just a bread.
No, not at all, not at all.
But how do we dress it as a bread?
Right? No, I totally agree.
Yeah. How can we fix our kids?
Well, we spent about 200 hours working on a grant that we're hoping that's going to help
Yeah.
us with that.
Right.
You know, like you said, you did phonics with them. You know, the basal readers. I mean, all these things. You know, they're all very helpful. But you know, especially at the middle school level. But you know, how do I address that in my classroom at the junior level?
No, I
think that's.
You go back in time.
Yeah.
And reach to
you invent a time machine.
Yeah, I know, and that is an issue. But how do I address it in my classroom in such a way? And we've talked about, you know, I've talked with Ms. Baker about reciprocal teaching, and I'm a huge advocate of this reciprocal teaching, and how working on trying to find ways to be able to implement that so we can try to make
Well, and I think something too that we take out of perspective and don't always fully give a big hey, happy congratulations for everybody too is let's say for example my fifth period 6th grade class. I have 5 young men in that class who are at a 2nd or 3rd grade level.
Yeah.
When they come to me to start
Yes,
the school year.
Exactly. Yeah. Junior climate catch up.
And you know, the numbers will back this up and show it. By the time they get to the 8th grade, they have improved by a couple of grade levels. And some of them we're very fortunate enough, once they see, not just myself, but you guys and our other special ed teachers, we have a good number that finally get to grade level, or at least to an 8th grade level by the time they finish the 9th grade. So we're seeing growth, but you know, just like Mr. Hogg had always told us in the past, for every year of instruction, we want to see at least that 1 year's growth. I think we have seen that. We are seeing that. Does it happen at the 100% level like we would like it to? No, it doesn't. But we're seeing growth, and we're seeing kind of the fruits of our labor. But I would be lying to say at the end of a school year that I'm not frustrated when we don't see those things. That we don't see a kid who's coming into us at a 6th grade level be able to read as a 6th grader going into the 7th grade. That's frustrating. We know that. And I think some of these scores, I'm sorry I did not bring the exact test with
You're
you.
fine.
These kids,
We get it.
I think this is a very general idea of what we see or what I see and you guys see every single day.
Yeah,
with
they're
these
avoid it, and
kids.
they'll avoid it. Some will avoid it. We saw a piece of that.
Yep.
They avoid it because it's difficult.
On our next little bit of agenda, guys, this has been a district-wide policy that we're working on, and that is the calendar committee, and hashing out a calendar for the next school year and possibly the next 2 school years. We had some of course, like I said, Miss Baker's heading that up, and I happened to be on that committee, but we had some pretty heated discussions last week. Nobody got mad or threw a fit or anything.
Passionate.
Yeah, we had some passionate discussions about that. And guys, here's the thing we are considering. First off, does everyone understand what we mean when we say a set calendar?
Can I interrupt one second?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not too late to do the survey, is
No,
it?
no, no, no,
Just
it came
Friday.
out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out today.
I started to say, I just saw it today,
Yeah.
so I didn't know if
It's
that meant.
through Friday.
And I know Mr. Blanket,
Good.
Mr. Blankenship, you said you had already taken it. Has anybody else in here already taken it?
I already had a
After
good
school.
response. I
Yeah.
was kind of surprised.
You
not
said
gonna
you
lie.
had a lot of parent input already.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
So a full
Yeah, I started saying,
Mhm.
I saw it pop up today, so.
That's one of there's different options. I'll explain all of it to you right
Okay.
now. And guys, I was hoping, and that's fine that you did. I'm glad all of you
I'll go look.
haven't taken it yet. And that way, hopefully, you can take it knowing everything that needs to be done with it. The district is considering a set calendar. As you can read right here, it says this means one would reasonably know the school calendar each year, barring unforeseen circumstances like, we've had construction issues, weather issues, all those things. But we
Water in the
had,
classroom issues.
That's right, I was just sitting there thinking, oh, let's see, flood, right the day before school started.
Exactly.
I just happened to be in the building, luckily.
but one thing, and guys, we've gone back to it, and we've put it back as an option. One option, a full fall break, 2 weeks at winter break, the 1 full week of spring break, and then, but also how we want to set up that winter break. Do we want to do it as we've done traditionally and had the week before Christmas, and then have that week coming back that first, Tuesday? Is that right, Miss Baker?
For next year, I think that would be a Tuesday.
Right.
It's usually around the 2nd or the 4th.
Right, somewhere through there coming back, or like we did this past year, where we had that time off. We got out, what was it, the 21st or 2nd?
Yeah, we went back
22nd,
on the 18th or something.
And then we came back on January the 8th.
Yeah.
Following
So we
week.
do one day and then we were out or something.
So, and guys, I will say this, and I'm not trying to sway votes. It actually worked out for us this year. It actually worked out for us this year because of weather, due to what was it, that Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, it was bitterly
Let's
cold.
say a lot of county school districts around us missed those 2 days because of snow.
Yeah.
We were still on our quote Christmas or winter break, and come back in, and we didn't have to pay those days back. We won't have to pay those days, whatever, so that's a benefit to it. But like I say, and I'll also tell you that was a big pro for it. Also I'll go ahead and tell you what the argument was in the committee was, it affected more so elementary age children as opposed to middle and high school, was parents having to go back to work, having to figure out something to do with those kids, figuring out daycare.
Kids are on different schedules in the county.
Right, those are all super valid points that were brought up. And nobody argued that, but we were just kind of going back and forth on the pros and cons of each of those. Let's see. Next, one of the questions, the calendar committee recommended that the district consider 2 record days for teachers at the end of the first 9-week grading period and a second day at the end of the third 9 weeks for a grading period. These days would not be used for any professional learning, department meeting, or faculty meeting. Part or all of the day could be used for parent-teacher conferences, and these days could count as 2 of our 3 work days for our 187-day contract and indicate, having 2 record days. Guys, and I will tell you this, and I thought this was we had a parent bring this up, and I think everybody on the committee thought it was a really good idea. we get about, what'd they say, like 2 weeks into the school year, Miss Baker?
Yep,
And having kind of like,
mock school day.
yeah, it's a mock school day, but almost kind of like a scavenger hunt, so to speak. Teachers or students and parents come in with their kids' schedule, and every
15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes,
Before.
the bell
That's what I
rings, you go to your first period
Yeah,
class.
Mhm.
Walk in, say hi to the teachers. That way, the parents can see your faces. It's not used as a parent-teacher conference,
No individual
They would
conferencing.
ring the bell, they would give us 10 to 15
Yeah.
minutes, and then
right?
just to give out our syllabus, talk
Say
to the
hi,
parent,
make
tell them
contacts.
what to expect.
You do that
and then
when?
The bell would
In
ring,
for-
and then.
About-
Like a week or two into the school year, because and here's why we
Oh,
say
into the
that,
school year?
Yeah.
and here's why we say this, is because you get that schedule to start the year. How many scheduling changes do you have to start the school year? You usually have a bunch. Definitely in the high school, some in the middle school. Doesn't really change so much in the elementary school. But the big reason for that is how many times do we have parents who they may be in contact with you or may not be in contact with you, but they never see your face and you never see their face. Some of you might not like that idea.
It's very humanizing too. It's
Exactly.
different to talk to a parent. I know it is for me, and I can put a face to it. But I especially think it's true for our parents when they think about us as human beings with a face, and not that person on the other end of the call telling me, "Well, Johnny's messed up again."
I agree. And I had never thought of it that way.
Would it be during the day or the evening?
No, it's the evening because you do a birthday little box, like 15, 15, so you would end up doing 2 hours.
Yep. And then we had also talked about during that, how many of you need parent-teacher conferences with students, but you never get to talk to those parents?
Those are the ones that don't come.
Right, exactly. And I think that was kind of argument against it, but I also like the idea of us having those half day and using one half as a, let's say you go first, second, third lunch, and then sometime after that lunch period's over with, you dismiss for the day. As parents come in, you can use part of that day. Let's say we're here let's say you started at 12:30, 12:45, and you're here till 4 o'clock, 4:30, and you use that whole window, part of your school day, and maybe an hour or two after, has a parent-teacher conference, has another get-to-know you
I like
type
even when they
deal.
talked about maybe doing a modified day where you come in at 9 or 10,
Right.
and that way you can catch those late, but you don't come in any earlier than that as the teacher. You come in at 9 or 10, you have your couple hours of work time, and then you start parent-teacher conference, and that way you get those late evening parents, and it's your day and not a 10-hour day.
It would
Yep.
also help with my four classes to plan for.
Yeah, it would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because I do a lot of planning at home.
We have
To like, yeah,
till
like
sixth grade
till
planning.
like 11, 12 o'clock at night.
But no, but guys, those are all valid points, and those are
Yeah,
all
that would
things
help
that we talked
me
about.
a lot if we could if that would help me a lot, not just in parent-teacher conference, but at least having a second that's not at my house, planning for school,
That's exactly right. And I
Somewhere.
mean, those are all issues that have been
Yeah.
brought up.
because with four preps it's a lot.
And guys, let's see, I'm trying to think.
In four
Was I the
preps.
only middle school, high school rep on that?
Yeah.
Guys, believe me, you can ask Miss Baker. I was, as soon as elementary teachers were saying we shouldn't do it because of this, and this, guys, I was right there saying, hey guys, these are the issues we're
Yep.
looking at. Some of those things you just said.
Yep, it would help us a lot. It really would, including parent-teacher stuff.
Exactly.
And then that way, that parents also can take time of their day when they schedule time to know that they, oh, I can go leave work at this time period, and they're not trying to rearrange their work schedule.
Well, and some parents talked about when it's just a couple hours at night, that there's those teachers who have 15 kids standing lined up outside their door, but they never get to see those.
Yep.
And so having a longer period of time, that
Yep.
you can still be working on records, but if a parent came in, then you can meet with them, and then,
No, I agree. I think that was That'd be a big help.
So those are all things to consider when you're looking at that number 4 on
Yeah.
that survey.
Yeah.
Think about those
Okay.
when you would the record days or the work days.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's necessarily how we're going to use them, but
Right.
those are definitely possibilities on the table
Yeah.
that we can talk with Miss Lovell, Dr. Hatchett, Miss
Mm-hmm.
Baker, all those things that we can talk to them about using that time for. And then guys, number 5. This was a big one, and this was what Dr. Hatchett, I think she's spent a lot of time looking at the options for us on NTI days. Because let's see, how many days as a district have we missed?
6.
6, okay? Guys, that's already putting us right at the end of May. After our closing day, let's say we don't miss any more days from here, that's putting our closing day at January 1, is that right? Or excuse me, June 1, I'm sorry.
If they modify the calendar, our last full day of school will be the 25th.
Okay,
We have active shooter training on the 29th,
right.
Google training and some other things for different groups of teachers on the 30th, and then we're going to move closing day to the 31st.
Okay,
It's what we're looking at right now, that's just tentative.
all right.
So, that's just simply because we have set deadlines, or set people coming in for the 29th and 30th, and we can't move them, but we can move closing day. Closing day can be any time after the last full day of school.
Right.
So, but that's if we modify the calendar to move it back to 170 days, and that's if the middle school and high school has enough minutes in to equal our 1,062 days.
Yep.
All that.
Yes.
So,
1,060.
so, yes, I haven't had time to calculate it yet, but we're
We're
really
right
close.
there on that.
We're right there on
Right.
it. So,
But that's something to think about, guys, with the NTI days.
Are they
And-
really effective?
Well, that's something we're going to talk about and discuss. Is and I'm going to read number 5 to you. It
Okay.
says the non-traditional instruction program is a program that encourages the continuation of academic instruction on days when school will otherwise be canceled. School district creates a plan to deliver instruction to every student in the district and provide for students and teacher interaction on NTI days, with the ultimate goal of reducing potential learning loss. Commissioner of Education can waive up to 10 NTI days to count toward the student's attendance in the days in the school district calendars. Schoolwork can be provided electronically, like a pencil, a combination. That is taking into consideration students who don't have internet, means to a computer, those type of things. The district is looking at options for a policy that include NTI days. Please rank of them from 1 to 5. Guys, here's the thing. I think one thing we did kind of already agree on, even though you can go up to 10 days, I think as a district, we would do no more than 5. Is that kind of what we agreed
yeah,
on?
mostly because we don't normally miss that many days. And,
Right.
and people were very uncomfortable thinking about 10 NTI days.
Right.
So, weren't hearing it, and you realize all the options would fall within that as well. So, there's a link in there this was the one that's, you'll know that I sent this out to all the calendar committee members to get their feedback. And one of the things we talked about was, will we send it home once every 9 weeks, how we do it? That's a building level decision. And so, because the calendar committee had discussed that note's on there, you won't see it on your survey. Because that's not part of a calendar committee responsibility. Our responsibility is just thinking, how do we want that NTI days to look in a calendar? So, but yeah, I don't think anybody was comfortable, that 10
No,
days scared everybody on that
The
committee.
entire
It was
entire
like, no.
committee was like, no, we're not doing 10 days.
5
We're not
days.
doing it. Right.
Yeah.
We don't miss that much, but what if we
No.
had a big?
Yeah, what if we did?
What if we
Bill
did?
73?
Yes,
Yes,
we are.
we are.
And we know that it may be completely taken off the table.
But it may not either,
Right.
so we're gonna plan for it.
So we're going to plan as if
Yeah.
it's
Well,
going to stay.
Now, I know Mr. Hogg was dead set against the NTI.
He was, and there was a lot of reasons for, I heard that presentation as well, but things have evolved since
Good.
then. Like, there were things in there about teacher planning time, I mean, this is a teacher work day, and you
Yes.
do have to be available X number of hours, and Dr. Hatchett was already talking about, having people here at the school, maybe some classified staff, if people need to come and use the computer lab. This is just one piece, like this whole policy would have to get approved by the state.
Right.
This is just one very small piece of the policy, and this is the one piece that the calendar committee would.
And they have to
recommend.
turn the work in. It's required that they turn the work in. They
In
have
order to count
3
as
days.
And
Yes.
attendance, yeah.
Yeah, it's required.
And the teachers have to grade it.
Yeah.
But one thing, and the question here is, even though we're introducing this to our district to see if it's will or won't be approved,
Sure.
is how do we want to use the NTI days if they are approved? Do we want to use, let's say we miss the first 5 days of January? Do we use those days as soon as they hit? Do we use them, do we miss 2 days and then implement the 5 NTI days? Or do we miss our allotted, what is it? Like
5 up
up to
and then-
5
and then they're all makeup.
and then, right.
Because we have 5 embedded with
What
our
happens
extra
to the, like,
minutes.
what
Is that
is
right?
this, like,
No, they're
monthly
counted as
days?
school days. This doesn't affect our minutes or anything. This is a school day.
We
It's a school
are
day for staff,
contract,
teachers, it's a school day for students.
Miss Bacon can give you better details than what I can, but this is how I understand it.
Yeah.
Is we are contracted by the state for 170 days. Or is it?
187.
Or, no,
Oh,
but I mean,
students?
yes.
Students, yeah, the minimum was
Hours.
170 days.
Students is a minimum of 170 days.
We do 174.
Right, so
Okay.
that's where those, when everybody in our district talks about built-in
I was
days,
asking what built-in days.
That's
What
what that
exactly?
is.
Is that the 4 days?
Well, actually,
built-ins?
our, it's kind of, but not exactly, like, the elementary middle school puts in extra minutes, and the high school a little bit, and so those minutes add up into days, and that's why when we put 174 days and we start reducing those, we still have to get the 1,062 hours, right? Well, the elementary gets it no problem, they always have more than enough, middle school's pretty close, but the high school, because of that 5 minutes of extra break every day, it's usually right up to 171 before they break even. So that's why I say I have to go back and really carefully look at it. One year, and I remember I brought this up a minute, maybe I did bring it up at the meeting. One year we suggested here, and this is my 6th year here, that we take the 5 minutes of break from spring break to the end of the school year so that the high school would have enough time. And not to have to go another half day or whole day. So I have to go back and calculate all that, and 200 hours of grant writing, and I've not had time to do that.
Right.
Right. No, we get-
So, but those are all things to consider, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, the good thing is, the good thing I think is Dr. Hatchett is looking at all possible options. She's not just automatically coming in saying no. She's looking at options. She's been a part of a district that has used them. She's been associated with other districts that have used them, who have done them effectively. So I think it is her responsibility, and she's done a good job of looking into it and see how it fits to our district, or if it does or doesn't fit to our district. So, and just like Mr. Woodward said, he brought up a point. Well, this may all get scratched and thrown out the window anyway,
Yeah.
depending on what the legislature does, which is, if that happens, that happens. So, guys, I know Miss Baker, we've done some of the work, but Miss Baker has put in the bulk of the work for this committee. And there is no disputing that. She has laid that out for us, and now we are kind of going back and forth.
Ball's in your court at this point.
Right.
Gotta give us that feedback.
So she's done a really good job presenting it. I think Dr. Hatchett has done a very good job presenting the NTI information to us. Now, like she just said, survey was sent out this morning. I'm glad that I've got to at least explain some of it to you. If you guys have questions about it, believe me, when Miss Baker sent that out this morning, I had a couple teachers knock on my door first period this morning wanting to talk about it. So,
So I put their names on there.
right, which is fine, and I'm perfectly okay talking about any of you.
Did that,
No, I
you know
get
that
it.
legislature anything about the start date? Did that pass or?
So I'll tell you what happened. That's why our start date, putting that in there. So there was a bill, you'll remember, there was a bill that came out, and the tourist people were saying, or people that work in tourism were saying, when we keep moving the start date up, you're affecting tourism. We would like for that not to happen. Well, that bill didn't pass, but as legislators really do, if I can put my hand over that, they appeased.
No, actually,
They
this is.
appeased that group of people.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Dr. Baird, I'm giving you a shout out here. David Baird, who will be, he's my observer for this assignment, sat on the State Board of Education and was the superintendent of eminence. So
Mm.
when we had our first meeting, anything we say in here, more than likely he's going to be siding with us on this. Okay, so it's not like your senator's going to get this.
Well, I wish you would. I would say to any senator.
Right.
To appease that group, what they put in there then was this alternate thing saying that if you didn't start your day until the Monday closest to Labor Day, then there was different things that you could do with your school day, right? So we're not going to do that. And then the other thing they did to appease it is we added 2 members to our calendar committee this year, and they had to represent the business community or tourism group and things like that. So to appease them, that's what they've done. And our school calendar used to be able to be approved in one setting with our school board. It has to be 2. We had to advertise, we sent out the advertisement this morning saying that it was being discussed at the March meeting and would be approved in the April meeting. So that's how they did that.
Well, I have
All
a
right.
dumb question.
There's no dumb question.
That's my
I've learned all this
kid.
by reading lots and lots
That's
of.
what I'm asking.
Carolina statutes.
Okay, girl.
Is it,
I'm just
how
writing
are,
it down.
just because I feel ignorant on the NTI days because we haven't used them,
Mhm.
how are other schools doing? Are they doing every other day?
Okay,
Are they
so
doing 5
If you'll,
days? Are
will
they
you
doing-
scroll back up, Mr. Busler?
Yep.
Just 10.
So, I had got, like, again, I sent this out and got lots of feedback, and so, if you'll go to page 9, it talks about how students do, there's like it's several pages.
Click
like 100
this.
If you click that, that will take you to the program. Also, if you just go in and Google or put in the search on Kentucky's Department of Education page, non-traditional instructional days, that's a hit. And the other one, if you'll click on it, it shows you a calendar of all the different counties doing it, or there's just a list version. Keep scrolling down a little bit more,
There's a
Mr.
lot.
Busler. I don't know if it's on this, one of the upcoming
I
pages
just trying to know how
too.
they use it.
They use 10 days in Madison County.
Yeah, use it by top
What,
or
what, what particular area are you looking for?
It's just a list that shows all the I think it's on this link. The more I see it, it's not. Go to page 9 though for just a second. You're 6, 7, 8 coming up. 9. Oops.
Kara had books.
So this is the page I've sent everybody to because it tells what goes on with the students, teachers, and staff. So staff are the ones that are greatly affected by this because you get accounted as a day and kids get accounted as a day, classified staff doesn't. But Dr. Hatchett is already forward thinking in that, and so what she's thinking about,
We've got a minute left, but yeah, go ahead.
what they're thinking about is having classified staff come in and open up the computer labs and do extra things like that to support students in TIs. So
Guys, last.
So there's another link that will tell you all that. So if you just Google it or put it in the search engine, you'll find it.
So take this survey, and guys, last thing I'm going to say is seminars, and I'm sorry, I lied to you, Miss Worley. I told you we'd be out of here by 3:10.
For 9, you don't want to do it.
I know. Last thing, and I know I'm the only middle school person in here. I know you've got a 1A trade class. But guys, I know seminars, we have, especially in the middle school, we're basing our seminars based on MAP. And I think in the high school they are using the CERT to base those. Remind them, they're coming up. I know we're starting in the middle school in about 2 weeks, and I think you guys are going right after spring break. Start letting those kids know that if they want moved out of a seminar or whatever the case may be, these scores actually are meaning something to them, okay? All right. Thank you guys, and I will see you next time.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Preston.